Alright, so here, the next project is in the garage. And the first thing I need to do is check the looseness of the suspension. So I'm going to jack underneath the control arm, and what that will do is keep tension on the spring, which should remove tension from the ball joints and allow me to wiggle the wheel and be able to then determine if there's any looseness in the ball joint. Alright, that's tight. That's tight. So this kind of goes along with what the mechanic who did the alignment told us, which was the only thing we had any looseness with was one of the tie rod ends, which I ended up replacing before getting it aligned. So this is all good news. No looseness here, that's all good. Start disassembling the top end with the car down off of the jack stand so that it's easier to reach things. So this is removal and installation of the clutch, and it says in this order remove these items. So the transaxle removal is section J1. So here's J1. Transaxle removal is page J12 of section J1. And here we are. So we will get going on this. And this is what we're referring to. So this is the official Mazda manual, which I'm fortunate enough to have. Even though the manual doesn't get down into removing some of these things until later, the battery, the air cleaner, and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and pull those first, also disconnect the battery even before I do anything else. Got an assorted list of 10 through 15 here. I'm guessing that this could actually be, ironically enough, since I've replaced the battery terminals with ones store-bought, more than likely those are inch. Set aside. So I have my ratcheting wrenches out here and just lying in the mix there with the 8mm. Slipped out of its holder. Now I'm going to go over and clear off a couple shelves. They have Pontiac stuff, but I can do some consolidation and then be able to put some of these parts as I remove them on the shelves to keep them out of the way. Alright, so the battery hold down has been removed. Get this shield off of there. pull the battery out. Excuse the back of my head here. Put it over on the shelf. Get the air cleaner assembly off of here. Another thing I'm going to do is remove the throttle body and the idle air controller, which is somewhere in there, and clean those both thoroughly, because it's pretty obvious given how poorly the car wants to idle. Its new thing now is to idle quite high. But I'm going to need to clean that, hopefully get it to behave itself. Alright, so that hose went into this portion here on the intake. We'll set this there. Alright, air cleaner assembly. Let's see if we can figure out how this is held on. It's underneath the air filter. I don't see anything there. There's a large bolt here, which I suppose it's possible if that's what's holding it on. Let's see. These off. This is all part of the intake system. The air is forced through here along this tube, comes in on the opposite side of the air cleaner, goes out. There's also a tube which you can't see underneath here. Alright, so this tube goes out, comes in underneath. There we go. Comes in underneath there, gets drawn through the air filter. There's also another inlet here. This tube down in there feeds from underneath the fender. So the one bolt I just pulled out went through here into that threaded. There we go. The one long bolt I pulled out went through that hole. This sat over a little bit and it threaded into there. So now we need to remove this, which should free that hose coming in from the tube coming in from the bottom, and then free the whole air cleaner assembly. This needed to come out of the way anyway, so. So this goes off to the side. We'll run these bolts back in so that they don't disappear. All right, so with that loose, it exposes another, and I think I'm going to need a socket to get down in there. Cleaner in place. So we'll guess at 10, maybe 12. 12, we have a winner. So that was a nut with a washer's part of it. Alright, so air cleaner out. Alright, so hard for me to hold the light and point at them, but that long horizontal cylinder is the slave cylinder of the clutch. We have the hydraulic line coming into it from the front. That's the bleed nipple on top. And then those two bolts, one above and one below the cylinder, hold the cylinder, slave cylinder, to the transmission. And on inside of that you would find the throw-out rod with the throw-out bearing on it. But I'm going to remove those two bolts, hopefully not have to disconnect the hydraulic line, which would require rebleeding. So I'll do that and bring you back after it's loose. So for the fasteners that I can't reinstall, for instance, these two bolts that held the clutch slave cylinder on, I can't put them back on because the slave cylinder is hanging right in front of them. I'm going to place them in this divided holder, and what I've done is I've drawn a map here, and I'll write down what each item is that I'm putting in each of these slots. And alright, clutch release cylinder out. Now we do what we need to do for transaxle removal, and it says disconnect battery cable, which we've done. Raise the vehicle, support it on jack stands, and they want me to drain the transaxle oil. Alright, I can do that. Hopefully I can find the drain for it. Followed by that, we begin to remove all these parts throughout here, starting with the left or driver's front wheel and tire, and then the splash shield, etc. So after referring to online documentation, right, where's my finger? There's my finger. Right there is the drain plug for the manual transmission fluid. So there we go. I've got a drain pan underneath, and we'll remove that bolt and we'll see what flows out of here. Alright, fortunately I have I'm guessing that 24 is big enough. It is. And that bolt is loose. Interesting. It's like pulling a vacuum here. Air is oozing around. Alright, we'll let this drain for a while. Now, one of the items I was supposed to remove is the splash shield. But this car don't have no splash shield. So, that's more weight savings. Anyway, on to the next. Oh, we've removed the wheel and tire, which was the first one. Splash shield was number 2. The resonance duct, which is number 3. Ah, there it is right on top. We've already removed that, like I said. The air cleaner housing assembly done. The battery done. And now we move on to the battery carrier, shown here as item 6. So some light. That will have some bolts right there. We'll get that out of the way. Alright, we've got a long extension. I'm thinking 12 millimeter. Out. And out comes the battery tray. And we'll again reinsert down the shelf. Done. Put these back in this bracket that seems to hold a transmission/engine mount. Ah, I see. That's broken off. We're going to get that one back in at all anyway. Let's see, where are we looking? Yeah, back there is the broken off head of a bolt. Or the broken off body. There's no head left. Alright, on to the next item.